The air above Europe was never quiet. Even at 20,000 feet you could hear the war. The deep thrum of engines, the distant echo of anti-aircraft guns, the rattle of shells tearing through aluminum. The sky wasn't blue anymore, it was gray with smoke, streaked with contrails that told stories of death and survival. It's 1943, and somewhere over occupied France, a group of German pilots spot something new. Sleek, silver planes flying in formation, not B-17 bombers this time, but smaller, faster shapes with long wings and pointed noses. American, yes, but unfamiliar. They laugh over the radio. "New toys from the Americans," one of them says. "They'll burn before they reach Berlin." To them, these aircraft look fragile, too light, too clean, too innocent for war. The Luftwaffe owns the skis. The Reich's pilots are legends. Their Messerschmitt Bf 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s symbols of dominance. No one, not the British Spitfire, not the American Thunderbolt, has managed to take that from them, and certainly not this Mustang. The name itself draws smirks. A wild horse. How fitting, they think, untamed, unpredictable, destined to run itself to exhaustion. They don't know that the war they're laughing through is about to turn against them. Because this toy will soon chase them through clouds, over forests, across rivers, and all the way back to their airfields. And once it arrives, the laughter will stop. Far below, in English hangars, the same plane sits under oil-streaked lamps. American ground crews move fast, tightening bolts, checking ammunition belts, topping off tanks. The smell of aviation fuel hangs thick. The P-51 Mustang gleams smooth aluminum skin, reflecting the floodlights like a mirror. It's not a beast of war yet. It's a promise. Young American pilots, many barely in their 20s, walk around their new mounts, eyes wide. Some came straight from farms or colleges. They've heard the stories. The Luftwaffe aces with hundreds of kills, the bombers torn apart over Germany. They're told the Mustang will give them a fighting chance. Few believe it, not yet. "She's fast," a mechanic says, patting the nose. "Real fast. Don't treat her like a thunderbolt, she's got her own rhythm." "Fast is good," a pilot replies quietly, "but we'll see how she dances." They don't realize they're standing beside one of the most revolutionary machines ever built. A few weeks later, the sky over northern France is alive with motion. Dozens of bombers crawl eastward in formation, heading for a factory deep inside enemy territory. Their silver bellies glitter in the morning sun, and that gleam is what the Luftwaffe waits for. High above, the German fighters appear, slicing down from the clouds like hawks. It's a familiar routine: attack from above, tear through the bombers, pull away before the escorts can react. But this time, something different happens. The escorts climb to meet them, not sluggishly, not barely holding altitude, but swiftly, powerfully, like they belong up there. Their silhouettes are slender, but their wings cut through the air with a kind of grace the Germans have never seen before. One German ace pulls up to engage. He closes distance. The American plane doesn't run. It banks sharply, impossibly tight. The sunlight flashes off its wings. Then the American fires, a clean burst from 6 Browning .50 calibers. The German pilot dives hard, smoke trailing from his wing. He curses in disbelief. The toy just outclimbed and outturned him. Back at base, the chatter starts. No one can agree on what they saw. Some call it luck. Others whisper that the Americans have found something new, something that shouldn't be able to do what it just did. The laughter fades, replaced by uneasy curiosity. And as the weeks go on, those sleek, silver shapes start showing up everywhere. Over France, over Belgium, over Berlin. By the end of that summer, the German aces stop calling it a toy. Now, when they see that long nose and those spread wings in the distance, they only mutter one thing over the radio. "Achtung, Mustangs." That's the moment the myth began, when the hunted became the hunter. The P-51 Mustang didn't just appear in the war, it announced itself with every enemy it chased down. And the same pilots who mocked it learned the hard way, the Mustang was no laughing matter. It was the beginning of the end. By 1943, the sky over Europe had become a graveyard. Every mission east of the English Channel meant stepping into a world of flak, fighters, and fear. For the Allied bomber crews, men flying B-17s and B-24s, there was no safety beyond the coast. Once they crossed into enemy airspace, they were alone. From the ground, you could watch it happen. Tiny silver dots crawling across the sky, surrounded by black puffs of anti-aircraft bursts. You'd count the formations leaving England in the morning, and you'd count fewer returning by afternoon. The air war had become a numbers game, brutal, simple, unforgiving. And it wasn't going well. Every Allied general knew the same truth. The bombers could reach the heart of Germany, but they couldn't survive the trip. The Americans had promised a strategy called daylight precision bombing, striking factories, refineries, and rail yards with accuracy that could break the Nazi war machine. But there was a problem. Their bombers, even in tight formations bristling with machine guns, were sitting ducks without fighter cover. The P-47 Thunderbolt and the P-38 Lightning were excellent fighters, tough, fast, and deadly. But they had one fatal flaw: range. They could only escort bombers partway across the continent before running low on fuel. When they turned back, the Luftwaffe moved in. German radar would light up with contacts, and sirens would wail across airfields from Normandy to Berlin. Within minutes, sleek fighters screamed into the sky. Messerschmitt's Focke-Wulfs, dozens of them. They didn't need to fight near home, the enemy came to them. The result was slaughter. Entire bomber groups disappeared. Crews went down over enemy fields, forests, and cities. Parachutes bloomed like white flowers across the sky. The air was filled with fire and falling metal. Back in England, the survivors would return in shattered aircraft. Holes the size of fists punched through wings, engines smoking, glass shattered. Each returning plane told the same story. We made it halfway, then the fighters came, we couldn't stop them. Every pilot, every engineer, every strategist in the Allied command knew what was needed: a fighter that could go the distance. Something that could fly with the bombers from takeoff to target, fight the Luftwaffe over its own territory, and still come home. But designing that kind of machine seemed impossible. A fighter with long range usually meant heavy fuel tanks. Heavy meant slow. Slow meant dead. You could have speed, or you could have endurance, but not both. At least that's what everyone believed. Until someone looked at the blueprints of a sleek, overlooked plane sitting in a corner of a hangar. A plane built by North American Aviation, fast, light, and aerodynamic, with strange laminar flow wings that reduced drag. The engineers called it the P-51 Mustang. It wasn't famous yet. It wasn't even fully trusted. Early versions had already flown and been dismissed as mediocre. Its Allison engine choked at high altitude, leaving it gasping where bombers needed it most. Still, something about it caught attention. In late 1942, a few British engineers made a bold suggestion. What if we fit it with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine? It was the same engine that made the Spitfire legendary. If it could work with the Mustang's aerodynamic frame, it might change everything. So they tried. And when that first hybrid Mustang Merlin roared to life, it sang. Suddenly, the Mustang could climb higher, faster, farther. The engine thrummed smooth and strong even at altitudes above 20,000 feet. The laminar flow wings sliced through air with almost no drag. Its drop tanks gave it incredible range, over 1,600 kilometers, far more than any other fighter. It was sleek, deadly, and long-legged. Exactly what the war needed. Back in briefing rooms, Allied commanders began to see the potential. They started whispering, "If this thing works, it could change everything." But not everyone believed it yet. The Mustang was new, untested, and unknown. The Luftwaffe ruled the skies, experienced, confident, vicious. How could an unproven machine built in a rush stand against them? Still, the risk was worth taking. As one American general put it, "If the Mustang can get our boys there and back, we'll build 1,000 of them. No, 10,000. And so they did. Production ramped up. Pilots began training in secret. Mechanics learned every bolt, every valve, every vibration of the new engine. The Allied airfields buzzed with excitement and disbelief. A fighter that could take the fight all the way to Berlin, that could fly deep into enemy territory and still return home, was finally real. The stage was set. The hunters didn't know it yet, but the hunted were coming for them. The Mustang wasn't born a legend, it was born from desperation. North American Aviation built it in just 117 days, a rushed gamble to meet Britain's urgent call for new fighters. The first version flew well, but not well enough. At high altitude, its Allison engine gasped for air. Most wrote it off. Then someone made a daring swap in the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. Suddenly, the same plane that had stumbled now screamed through the sky. It climbed faster, flew higher, and stretched its range deep into enemy territory. What had been dismissed as a lightweight experiment became something else entirely. A predator built for endurance and speed. The engineers knew it first, the pilots would soon find out, and the Luftwaffe. They'd learn the hard way. The first time the Mustang met the Luftwaffe, no one expected much. German pilots spotted them high above France's sleek silver with long noses and narrow wings. New Americans, they joked over the radio. Easy prey. But when the dogfights began, the laughter stopped. The Mustangs climbed higher than any thunderbolt, turned tighter than any lightning, and dove with terrifying control. When German aces rolled into attack positions, the Mustangs didn't flee, they met them head-on, 6.50 caliber guns roaring. One Luftwaffe pilot barely escaped, his plane shredded and smoking. He'd underestimated the new arrival and nearly paid for it. That night in mess halls across occupied Europe, the talk had changed. The Americans had something new in the sky, something fast, fierce, and impossible to shake. From that day on, whenever German spotters saw those long wings glinting in the sun, one warning echoed through the radio. Achtung Mustangs. By late 1943, something strange started happening over Europe. German bomber crews who once flew home untouched were now disappearing, cut down far from safety. At first, Luftwaffe command thought it was luck, but then reports started piling up. The same silver aircraft, always appearing at the edge of radar, diving fast, then vanishing into the clouds. It wasn't luck, it was range. With new drop tanks fitted under their wings, the P-51 Mustang could now escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. The Luftwaffe had lost their sanctuary. Winter 1944, the sky over Germany burns. The Allies have launched their largest bombing raids yet, and this time the Mustangs are with them, thousands strong. Flying high and wide, they sweep the skies clean before the bombers even arrive. German airfields are no longer safe. Every takeoff, every landing, every scramble is shadowed by the same sound, the deep, confident growl of a Merlin engine. The Luftwaffe tries everything, ambushes, mass formations, even ramming attacks, but the balance has shifted. Their best aces are gone, replaced by rookies who barely know how to fly. The Mustang dominates them all. It climbs faster, turns tighter, and dives harder. Its range lets it strike anywhere, anytime. By spring, the message is clear. The air war over Europe is lost. One German officer summed it up quietly as he watched another squadron vanish into smoke. "We no longer own the sky." By 1944, the P-51 Mustang wasn't just a fighter, it was a symbol. To bomber crews, its silver wings meant survival. To ground troops, it was hope roaring overhead. And to the Luftwaffe, it was the sound of defeat. Pilots who once doubted it now swore by it. They named their planes Old Crow, Big Beautiful Doll, Ferocious Frankie. Each one carried a story of near misses, of victories, of friends who never came home. The Mustang turned ordinary men into legends. Pilots like George Preddy, Bud Anderson, and Chuck Yeager carved their names into history, racking up victories at impossible odds. Every mission pushed the limits deep into enemy territory, through flak and fire, chasing down the last of the Luftwaffe. And when the final days of the war came, the Mustang was still there, leading the charge, guarding the bombers, escorting them home. It had done what no other plane could. It had conquered the sky. The day the laughter died. By early 1945, the laughter was gone. The same German pilots who once mocked the American toy now watched helplessly as Mustangs circled their airfields like hawks. Every sortie ended the same, engines roaring, gunfire flashing, smoke rising. The Mustang had done the impossible. It followed them home. In the final months of the war, the skies over Europe belonged entirely to the Allies. Bombers thundered toward their targets under the watchful escort of Mustangs, while German fighters hid in hangars, running low on fuel, pilots, and hope. When the war finally ended, the Mustang stood not just as a machine, but as a message that innovation, courage, and sheer will could turn the tide of history. The wild horse of the sky had lived up to its name. It had broken free, run wild, and never stopped until the war was won. And somewhere, high above a quiet, smoke-cleared Europe, the spirit of the Mustang still flies, untamed, undefeated, and unforgettable.